Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Raven here. Today we're going to be talking about Gary Ridgway. He was known as a Green River Killer and he murdered up to 71 women and maybe even more. So throughout the 90s and the 80s, Gary Ridgway prowled Washington State and was known as a Green River Killer, hunting for those that worked in the sex industry and other vulnerable women, and he forced himself on them and he killed them. Well, let's look at the evidence. So from 1982 to 1998, Gary Ridgway terrorized the state. He murdered at least 49 women, but the real number could be as high as 71. If true, this would make him one of the most prolific serial killers in American history, and one of the most brutal. From bragging about his choking ability to explaining his cold-blooded efficiency of performing necrophilia on victims' corpses instead of finding a new victim to force himself on a kill, his story was nothing short of chilling. While Ridgway is not as famous as Ted Bundy, for example, he took far more victims than Ted Bundy ever did. In fact, by the time Bundy had already been captured in the 1980s, authorities were actively seeking his help in catching Ridgway, who at the point was still very much at large. In the movie Straight Out of the Silence of the Lambs, investigators used Bundy's inside knowledge of serial killing and his familiarity with Washington State to help them form a profile of Ridgway. Gary Ridgway was born on February 18, 1949 in Salt Lake City, Utah. He had a seemingly happy and normal childhood. But at the age of 15, he stabbed a young boy just to see how stabbing worked. Ridgway later told a psychiatrist that he was interested in stabbing because he was struggling being sexually attracted to his own mother and wanted to kill her because of it. He also confessed that he had a bedwetting problem into his early teens, that he had clear recollections of his mom washing his genitals after he wet the bed. Some experts think that this may have been part of a larger pattern of inappropriate behavior on the part of Ridgway's mother, and while she was ultimately spared from Ridgway's killing spree, some believe that his crimes may have been amounted to a case of displaced matricide, and that he was unconsciously killing his mother over and over again. But for a long time, Ridgway put up a front. He graduated high school at the age of 20, he went into the U.S. Navy for 2 years, and he decided to settle down in the Seattle area. Shortly thereafter, he got a job painting trucks, which he held for about 3 decades. Now, after his move, he started having a couple of encounters with the law, during which he got arrested for allegedly choking a worker in the sex industry for solicitation. As the years went on, his crimes escalated from there. It's widely believed that he first began his killing spree in 1982, where he started with a 16-year-old girl who had run away from her foster home. Now, he often preyed on vulnerable runaways. He targeted sex workers, whom he picked up at truck stops, dive bars, along Highway 99 outside Seattle. After luring his victims into his car, he often gained their trust by showing them photos of his son, engage in that type of stuff with them before strangling them to death, sometimes in the middle of intercourse as well. Now, he would dump their bodies in wooded areas along the Green River, which led to his chilling nickname. Ridgway would also purposefully contaminate the crime scenes with gum and cigarette butts, since he didn't smoke or chew, to throw authorities off. Occasionally, he would dump the body in one place, leave it for a time, then transport it to another location to create a false trail. At least 2 of the victims were transported as far away as Portland. By the end of his murder spree, he killed a confirmed 49 women. He ended up confessing to 71 murders, though. He once said, "I killed so many women, I have a hard time keeping them straight." When the bodies first started appearing, the King County Sheriff's Office formed the Green River Task Force, hoping to discover the person responsible. They got help from an unlikely source, and that source is Ted Bundy himself. 2 members of the task force were Robert Keppel and Dave Reichert. They periodically interviewed psychiatrists, criminologists, hoping to gain insight. In 1984, their interviews led them to be write Ted Bundy. According to Keppel, Bundy actually volunteered himself to take part in the investigation. Keppel described receiving the shocking request from detective of the Seattle Police Department. It was a letter from a wannabe consultant and the most unlikely person ever expected to be of assistance in the Green River murders. The letter came from a cell in death row in Florida. The sender was Theodore Robert Bundy. He was stunned. By that point, Bundy had already been in prison for several years for murder and, rape, burglary, and necrophilia. And at the time, he was awaiting his execution, which would come in 1989. Now, he had deplorable but vulnerable first-hand experience with the same kinds of killings that had been happening in the Green River area. Bundy proved to be an asset to the case. He became a regular interviewee of Keppel and Reichert and offered his unfiltered opinion on the psychology of the still active Seattle killer, as well as his motivations, his behaviors, etc. According to Reichert, Ted Bundy also shared several things in common with Gary Ridgway, especially regarding the mindset of, first off, there's no remorse, he has no feelings, not even to his own family, and that's what Bundy saw in Ridgway, or that's what they saw in Bundy. And before I continue, I'm just going to say, Gary Ridgway was married at one point. They had a son together. Now, in an interview the ex-wife actually say that he wanted to choke her out and it got too far. They never did that again. So the fact that he was willing to do that with his wife should tell you guys something. Now, he did marry again. He actually treated this woman so much better, and after the killings, or at least he stopped for a while, and it's because he actually really loved the woman he ended up being with, and that's the woman that he was with when he got arrested for this. As Reichert explained in an interview with the New York Times, Mr. Bundy, Mr. Ridgway craved attention and control and was prideful. When detectives presented him with an unsolved murder to see if he would confess, he told them, "Why? If it isn't mine, because I have pride in what I do, I don't want to take it from anybody else." Okay, now that is chilling. Chilling. Now, Bundy's theories turned out to be absolutely correct, and the police were able to use them to collect samples and provide evidence for an arrest warrant. However, it took police until the year 2001 to finally arrest Gary Ridgway. Now, why was that the case? Well, at the time of his killings, DNA could not be determined. At the time, they did not have the amazing, tools to prove who's who from DNA that they do now. So, forensic testing revealed that the same spray paint that Ridgway used at work was actually on some of the victims' clothing. And although, technically they had his DNA as well, like semen and things like that. And they're like, well, yeah, I was with these prostitutes. Why wouldn't that be there? And they're like, well, you have nothing on me. And then they're like, oh yeah, we do. And that's what got him. So that's the story. Now, if you do want to find out a little bit more information about him, there is a free thing called tubi, Tubi, that you can go ahead. You don't need to pay for it. It is totally, completely free, and you can watch everything about this man. Now, I did watch the video about this. It is absolutely mind-blowing, that he had two faces. Basically, he had the one where he loved his son. He loved the last wife he had. He put on a front. And then there was the angry Gary Ridgway, the one that you could see the horrible and scary look in his eyes that he's going to kill someone. The fact that he was able to hide that so well, like in an interview, his son even said that he had no idea that this was happening. And you know what the messed up part is about this whole thing? Gary Ridgway's son, who I'm going to leave his name completely out of it, he even said that, he didn't know anything. and that his dad actually took him back to the places where the girls were murdered, and they would have a family vacation there. Like, who in their right mind is going to vacation right where you kill somebody? Makes no sense. And as far as I am aware, Gary Ridgway is currently still alive as of this moment from the article I am reading from. He is currently 72 years of age, serving out his life sentences, and he has a lot of them. Now, he was given 48 life sentences that would be served consecutively. Then 10 years were added to each sentence for the crime of tampering with evidence. This would increase his overall prison term by 480 additional years. 480! Wow. That is absolutely terrifying. Now, I am going to also say this since it is at the end of the article. The title of the most prolific serial killer in the United States has since been taken away by Samuel Little, who killed up to 93 women between 1970 and 2005. There's no question that Ridgway remains one of the worst murderers in American history. Now, I'm going to do a video on Samuel Little. I'll probably do his a little bit more into the future. I don't know. We'll see. But if you do like this type of video, hearing more about serial killers and the things that they do, things like that, let me know in the comment section down below. I will see you all in the next video. Bye.